Welcome in, everybody, to the first ever edition of Every Day We're Covering. As you can guess, that's a little bit of a reference on gambling and betting on the sport we love, college football. I'm Chris Parks, being joined by SJ Munoz, and we've got a little bit of a radio history, SJ.
Yeah, definitely. Well, CP, as he'll be, I'm gonna call you more often than not, so you guys better get used to that. But yeah, we go back to our college days actually, and believe it or not, that's over a decade and a half ago. It doesn't seem like it, man, but
It's been
we're
a
getting
minute.
up there, dude. Yeah, obviously, like you said, we started kind of get on the airwaves there in college, just tinkering with some stuff. And obviously, you stayed in the business for quite some time. I lean more towards the written version of journalism, which I'm still kind of dabbling in these days. Making some money off that, not too much, just a little bit. You know how that goes. But
Yep.
yeah, we're kind of just reuniting. It's kind of hopefully we can get something good for a little gambling aspect back in the sports world too. Just kind of covering all the bases.
Yeah, that's a good little reminder too for the kids out there. If you're going to get into journalism and you think that you're going to make a lot of coin, that's not a thing. So
Kind of like the love of the game type thing, right, man? Like you just
exactly.
you do it because you love it, not because you want to be rich. I mean, obviously there's a few of those blowhards that make some money, but I wouldn't call that a journalist. But that's another story
Yeah.
for maybe a different episode, a different podcast. We'll hit that one.
Yeah, no doubt. And of course, that's why we're doing this, because we love it. We love doing stuff like this. So this should be fun for us. Hopefully, it's fun for anybody that takes it in, and we'll roll along through the season, and you can laugh along with us or laugh at us, whatever works out the best. That's fine with me.
As long as you're laughing and listening, we good.
Exactly. And I think kind of the point of what we wanted to do with this is obviously to cover kind of some of the day-to-day of the sport and college football, and who knows, maybe we'll roll into some other stuff as well out there in the sports world here and there, and talk about some of the headlines, and then of course, as you mentioned, tie in some of that kind of gambling aspect of it, since it's become such a big thing in the world now too, and it's growing, and so a lot of people are certainly interested. So we'll have some picks we'll throw in there and give you some probably good and bad insight at times, and that's how it works. So
My disclaimer would be definitely see a lot of the, especially in the gambling world, as it grows and more states make it legal. There seems to be an exorbitant, amount of sharps these days, which that's obviously not the case. I'm just gonna be straight honest. My disclaimer, like I do it because I enjoy it. Whoever's listening or get this, I'm not gonna claim to be some get rich. It's not why I'm doing it. It's fun. I like to win, of course. I mean, that's more of it, the competitive side for me. But obviously, we have some insight and just being lifelong sports fans. But it's not one of those we know everything. My picks are always locks. That's not the aspect we're coming in from. So maybe that will be something that people can enjoy. A little differentiation there from a lot of the gambling community out there, especially online.
Yeah, a lot of guys trying to lure you into all kinds of things these days, but yeah, we're just having fun with it, and that kind of leads us into what we were going to talk about next too. It's becoming such a big thing, and it is important for people to remember that that's what it is. It should just be for fun and entertainment.
Right.
If this starts to affect your day-to-day life, then you need to take a step back and reassess what you're doing, because you don't want it to be something that prevents you from paying the mortgage. This is just for fun. So hopefully people will understand that. I know there's going to be some that have that issue. I mean, addiction is a thing in a lot of different ways, and gambling is certainly one of them. But we're not here to promote that. We're going to be the other side of the coin on that deal for sure.
Definitely, and then with the growing number of states kind of touching on that, just I think there's a lot of people aren't familiar with the actual like what's legal, not legal, what you can do, what you can't do, and then just for me, like the way I look at it, my perspective is the legalization of it is bringing everything above board. Basically, a lot of things that you maybe could get away with before was, no one knew what was happening because you're handing some guy $50 or whatever, and
Mm-hmm.
no one knows except you two. It's not the case anymore. It's way easier to track, and I mean, obviously, there's good and bad, just like with everything. But to me, the legitimization I think is a good thing. I understand where you might not be getting the odds, and might be getting the kind of there's fees and things of that sort, but at the same time it's like, well, we have a paper trail, and there's things built in for a reason. So I mean, obviously, no one wants to pay Uncle Sam, but he gets his money regardless. So whether we want it or not, he's getting it. Property tax, wheel tax,
Yeah.
what have you. So
Yeah.
fall in line.
Yeah, yeah, and it's certainly nice to know that you're dealing with some entity that is going to give you your money if you deserve it, and they know you're going to get your money if they deserve it. Moose and Rocco don't have to come shake you down anymore. So,
well, the thing I will say about that too, on the other side, is there is a lot of unknowns for especially states where hasn't been a thing ever, or someone maybe never was interested in it, but now that it's available, just with this little, device in your hand that you can, bet your life savings if you so choose. So I mean, I'd like to be, hopefully we can be a little bit informative too on that end. Just I came into it as quite a bit of a rookie when I started a few years ago, because basically my situation is to lay it out there. Like, I live in the Kansas City area, so Kansas is legalized sports betting, Missouri is not. So I'm pretty close to the state line, so it's about a 5 or so minute drive west or south, either way. Like, I can get across to the casino or what have you, or just a mobile device. But there was a lot of things I wasn't sure of what I could do, what I couldn't do, and just a lot of it's trial and error. And if I can, I'd like to put some info out there to help people, because it's a little bit daunting when you just you don't really know what you're walking into, and then you have situations like we've seen arise, especially in the sports world, where you thought you're on the up and up, and you obviously were not.
Yeah. We're going to get to that here in a second with the college athletes, but since you brought it up with the different states, I pulled down some numbers before we started today to talk about kind of how this has grown. And obviously, the state I live in Iowa, it's been legal for a couple of years now. It started where you actually had to go to a physical casino to get your account started. That since has changed, and now you can just download an app, sign up. Of course, they have ways of verifying who you are and all that, but then you can just go. So anybody that's got that connected device can get that done. The first year, of course, was the biggest year that they had. It kind of exploded. But last year was not much less. So the year that ended here on June 30th, fiscal year for the state, $2.2 billion was wagered in Iowa during that year, which to me is a mind-boggling number, because you think of Iowa and it's not the most populous state in the world. It is larger than people think, but that's a whole lot of money for a very small number of people.
Not even going by age, but just by actual, that's like $1 per every resident of the state. A little bit more, right? Because isn't they sitting about 2 million, or is it about 2 million or so, the population of around there, right? So,
well, yeah, we're looking at like $10 per person.
Yeah, you said 2 billion. Yeah. See, I can't even wrap my mind around it.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, I'm just from some of the numbers I've seen, because there's a lot of people that especially follow the financial side of gambling, and put out like a top 10 per month. And honestly, Iowa, I don't know if you can't follow this, I think it's VSIN, that side. But anyways,
okay.
Top 10, Iowa is routinely in the top 10 of and then they're not. They're going against Nevada, New Jersey, New York. They're well below on their population, so it's definitely a popular state. But you consider that some of the neighboring states don't have it. I'm sure that also factors in as well. But there's still, it's a obviously profitable and then some for, for a state like that. So
it certainly has helped out the casinos for sure. Very interesting. The state of Nebraska has started to go to that. It's just trickling in, and now you're getting casinos that are being built. But I saw a number just through the first 6 months, they had gained $8.2 million, and that's a net revenue. That's not what was wagered, so that's what the state's actually earning off of it. Pretty interesting. But so the past 5 years is really when this is picked up, and states could have that option. So in that 5-year period, Americans have wagered $220 billion during that time frame. So it's about $45 billion per year so far. And they said they expect the increase to be a 10% year-over-year increase. So if that continues, and of course more states are going to be added, then you get to a point where they're expecting in 2029 for $167.6 billion to be wagered annually in the country, which is just out of control.
Yeah, it's like one of those numbers. It's like you can't even wrap your mind around it. But I mean, it's like I said, to me, it's nice that it's that option, but as you can see, it's done for a purpose as always. But I guess we just want to do our best to help put some of that money in your pocket. You're obviously not going. You're always going to be behind. That's the thing I always like. Like whenever, even if I make a decent bet and win, I'm just always like, well, yeah, but
Yeah.
it's still that it's still the catching up game. But like I said, it's for fun. So I'm not ever looking to make that my full-time job. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
I'd love to, but it's just not in the cards.
Yeah. The casino always wins. Uh, one thing we'll also probably do while we do this is, of course, have a frosty beverage or two while we're sitting here doing this program. So, who knows along the way.
What are you sipping on tonight?
Well, I got a little Council's Kolsch here from Full Fledged Brewing. This is out of Council Bluffs. They make some good stuff. They got a nice little operation there. It's not a big place, but they do some good things here in the area.
Unfortunately, I'm stuck with just the normal domestic BL here. Nothing fancy tonight. The only stop on my way home. That's all they had. They don't have a big craft brew section. Unfortunately, it's just basically like a little convenience store I stopped at. So
that's fine.
I just got a couple. I'm nothing that's going to be setting me up for the weekend. Just I needed something to quench the thirst after those. I don't know about you guys. We had some serious heat roll through here the last couple of weeks. So anything cold is good these days. But I'll do better next time and have some little. They got some pretty good, decent brew scene down here in KC. So I'll try to make a point of getting some info out there on a little better beverages that they have in the city.
All right, yeah, and that's hopefully we'll shed the light on a few things there for you if people are interested in that. I am drinking it out of the Boulevard glass, so I mean at least I got the KC connection there. But
dude, it's a rough night. I'm going straight out the can, man. no shame tonight. I felt like I was like, what's tomorrow? Like, it's only Thursday, but college football does kick off tomorrow, so
that's true.
Get that mind right. Start chugging that yard beer.
Exactly. Yeah, you mentioned the heat. I'm supposed to be in Ames on Saturday, and they're expecting the temperature to be 91 degrees. So not exactly ideal football weather. It'll be interesting to see how that plays, but it's not much fun.
That's the time you're begging for that wind you usually get in October and November.
No doubt.
Cool breeze, but I don't think it's going to happen this weekend.
Exactly. I'm sure along the way you'll probably figure out some of our allegiances and that as well, to have a little fun with that too, as we talk about teams here in the area. Of course, we went to school together, and actually, just a little side note, I guess, kind of interesting that they had the big volleyball deal at Lincoln today. Crazy.
I got it on the DVR because I was just busy tonight, but I did see some pictures, and man, it's kind of when we're talking about the billions of money. It's kind of hard to picture because they kept saying 90,000. Then you see a picture like, man, that's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, are they really going to get that many people? Just because it's like that's nuts. I mean, college football is one thing, but I mean, volleyball. But like you said, I mean, proud alums of the Nebraska Carney, they took part in the festivities today.
They did.
So that was interesting. I didn't get to see much, but like I said, I plan to check it out just for the visual effect, nothing less. I mean, I don't watch too much volleyball. Towards the end of the year, maybe catch the Final Four of the tournament, but I'm definitely gonna get some eyeballs on that tonight, hopefully, and see what that looks like just in some moving pictures. But definitely the tweets were pretty outstanding. Just that visual is crazy.
Yeah, that's very cool, and it certainly just shows you, I think, the growth of sports in general. A lot of people are talking about the growth in, women's sports as well, which certainly has been the case. The women's basketball has gotten a lot more attention now the last couple of years, and volleyball certainly in our area is a big deal too. Right. So, interesting to see all that change, and obviously college football is still the driver, but if they keep making teams play from one end of the country to the other, who knows how long that's all going to last. So
well, you got to figure too. I mean, not to get too in the weeds, but there's advantages there that the female athletes might have over the males too, when you consider the fan bases. I mean, that's kind of all I'm going to say. So there's a lot of money to be made there. If you'd see some of the NIL deals out there, there's definitely money to be made. Obviously, there's they're athletically they play second to none. I mean, if you watch some of those competitions, just actually focus on the sport. Like they're pretty incredible athletes. So and then everything else on top of that just kind of makes it nice for them to be able to have an experience like that, because that's something. Even if you're the last woman on the bench in this case, it's like you still were part of that, world record. So like that's just nuts.
Yeah, you'll remember that forever. That's for sure. Pretty cool. Of course, we're going to get to some football here as well. Obviously, we've got like you said, a lot of games on Thursday. Obviously, we're going to be probably talking a lot more of some of the games that happened later, so folks will maybe get a chance to listen into what we're talking about too. But if we talk about earlier games and we're wrong, then you'll know by then. So that's the way it goes. I think it's just. It's fun. There was some week 0 stuff, but honestly, I don't know. I'm one of those people. I don't get real excited until it's that first full week when everybody's on the field.
Labor Day weekend's kind of like where you're like kind of this. Your mind, you're ready for it. Like it's just kind of like it feels right then, especially with like the way the freaking weather was. Like
I know.
I mean, I know it's still gonna be warm in some places, but at least now the calendar changing to September gives you like a little bit of like more normalcy there than it was last week for sure.
Yeah, and of course, unfortunately, some of those early ones too aren't necessarily the most desirable matchups to take in either. So
it was cool to see the Ireland thing again, but that game was I think I had 2 series maybe, and I was like, okay, that's all we need to see.
Enough of that.
Thanks for coming. Like that was bad.
Yeah.
I don't. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, too, obviously, that's also part of what we'll be talking about is just the way the sport in general has changed. I mean, there's so much different now with, and it all happened at once. It's not like we got one thing and had to deal with it for a while. And, now we've got the portal, the NIL stuff. Guys can come and go pretty much as they wish. So teams change, rosters change fast. And you're seeing a lot of that.
The conference shape. I don't even want to call conference anymore, just like group. I mean, like, honestly, like, I'm having to check and be like, okay, what teams and what conference? And I follow it pretty dang close. Like I'm pretty invested in college football, and I'm like, okay, who left, who stayed, and like honestly, like I like the fact that it seems like maybe we're moving to deciding a champion on the field, which is what I always kind of desired. As far as like, why can't we do a playoff? Why can't you play it on the field like NFL does or every other sport? Literally, your basketball that's sanctioned by the same organization plays it out on the actual court. But I don't like the way it's going about doing it. I can't fault the team for wanting more money, but it's just like, I don't know, the end game doesn't seem like it's in everybody's best interest, at least.
Yeah, no, it's not. I mean, it's in TV networks' interest for now, but I mean, even that, I mean, you've seen. It's just so interesting to me how this is unfolded, because the playoff thing came up, and to me, like the stuff that happened this summer, I thought would just go away because it wouldn't happen, because the playoff just made sense to stay where you were now. I mean, all the conferences that were big conferences had a seat at the table with the 12-team playoff. Why wouldn't you just stay there and try to get in? Why would you make it more difficult for yourself? That makes no sense to me. Right. You want money, but you're going to get that being involved in a playoff, so do that. But yeah, and now you've obviously seen the other side of it with the Pac-12 not being able to get the media deal and the money that they wanted, and that caused more tumble-down effect. And, how long is that going to last for everybody else? You just don't know. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how it all devolves eventually. But
we should have stuck with the Big 8. That's all I'm going to say.
I know. I agree.
Once Texas was in there, I knew nothing good was going to come out of it. And look where we are now.
Yep, no doubt.
I still blame Texas till my last breath.
Yep, no doubt.
Texas, but
yep, yeah.
Another topic for another podcast, I guess.
Yeah, hopefully they get their proper exit this year.
Yeah, let's hope so, yeah.
All right, well, I'm gonna give you the floor here for a second, then. And kind of talk about some games. Maybe if you do want to do a couple, and then I'll throw in some of my horrible picks, and then give you the finishing touch.
Like we said earlier, just kind of again to reiterate, this is the like I know my kind of here's my kind of angles to gambling. One thing I try to avoid is I don't play the teams that are like I grew up rooting for or like I have a really emotional investment. It's just, to me, like anybody listed, like that's just a bad way to go about it. You're not thinking rationally. Like, sure, I might do a over under a season total, but week to week, I'm not betting every game that my team. In this case, I'm a Nebraska fan, so I don't bet their games very often. Last year, I figured I might as well make some money off them losing if I'm going to be miserable. I might as well make a little coin, so I did do that a little bit. But as far as when when it's 50-50 or even a great greater odds or less odds, I'm just gonna stay away from it. So just kind of that's my disclaimer. Like I don't bet them, I don't bet the Lakers. Even with fights, if there's a because I'm into the combat sports pretty heavily, boxing and UFC too, but boxing mostly. But if it's unless like Crawford, like I was like that's easy money. I'm taking that one all day. So I did profit on that one. But usually I try to stick away from the fights that I'm really kind of invested in or the game. So that's my disclaimer there. So just kind of that's kind of where I'm going from. So if you see me wearing like we might add a visual component to this aspect. You see me, my little man cave I'm in down here. I got a lot of Husker gear. Like my gear, I might be wearing them. Be like, why don't you ever bet on them? Because emotionally, it's not the smart move for me. Like that's just the way I play. I'm not saying nobody has to. And then another thing that a lot of people I've seen a lot of people talk against and say maybe it's a bad thing to do, but I honestly do go with my gut a lot. I know a lot of people say, there's equations. It is a math. A math. In the end, a lot of it has to do with that. But for me and the success I've had, it's kind of like that, syndrome of, you pick the answer on the test, you erase it and change it, and then it ends up being your first answer. I've had that happen too many times. So I stick with my gut. If I'm wrong, I can live with it. But that's what I'm going to do. So I guess that's just kind of just to give you an insight into like my habits. And honestly, like most of my bets are probably amounts that people wouldn't even bother messing with. But like I said, I do it for the enjoyment of it, not for the profit. So I guess that's kind of like my three disclaimers or just three bullet points to kind of sum up my gambling habits. I guess that's the best way to sum it up without making it too long of a story.
Gotcha.
But so for this week, like you said, I'm going to kind of hit on Saturday's games. First one I like, and this one was a little emotional, but at the same time, just kind of looking at what they have coming back and what they're up against. I took TCU minus 20.5. I know that's a pretty big number, but I mean, they were literally in the national championship game last year. I know they have a couple holes to fill, but they're also, Colorado 1-11 last year, right? Mm-hmm. One win, and they got how much ever he talks. Prime is not a proven coach, so
yeah,
Mr. Sanders got a lot of work to do there. So I'm not quite sold on them, and honestly, like the style of play, and especially, I mean, technically they're a Pac-12 team, but the Big 12 style of play, I'm just going to throw them in the Big 12 because that's where they are anyways. Yeah. That's points are points of plenty.
Yeah.
So I don't see 21 being a large margin of victory there. I mean, I could even see like 35-10, something like that, and 42-14. Like I don't think that's too outlandish. So I feel pretty confident about that 20.5. I know it's a little high, but it is week one, and obviously TCU's got way more tools than Colorado does, in my opinion.
Yeah, no Max Duggan, but like you said, they played the national title game for a reason. They got lots of dudes, and not only a Colorado team that wasn't good last year, but almost an entirely new team too. The way they've gone about it, so you just have no idea. Yeah, that's going to be rough.
This was more about what the have-nots and what they have. So whether it's your luggages, whatever it is, it ain't polished up yet. You got a lot of work to do there.
yeah, no doubt.
All right, the next one I was looking at here, and this one's kind of not, I mean, in your home state there, but not the team that you care about. But I'm going to go Iowa and Utah State under 45. It's been well documented, Iowa's offensive issues. And then Utah State, I mean, coming off I believe they're 6-7 or 6-6 last year. Either way, like a subpar season. I don't know, 45 just seems like a big total. I could see like a 21-7 game, maybe even like maybe you could even sweat it out. Iowa's had a lot of those games where it's a North Dakota State type where they're winning 9-3 or 12-6. Kind of like an ugly. They're getting the W, but I could see it being an ugly one. And 45, I mean, that seems like a little bit high. Just from the way I'm looking at it, obviously is crazy stuff happens, but just playing the odds, I like my chances of Iowa being 21 or less just offensively and maybe giving up a touchdown or 10 points.
Yeah, and they've got a new quarterback, Cade McNamara. He's been banged up, so they don't know how good he's going to be for Saturday either.
Who knows if he's even playing?
Nobody's telling you. Yeah,
that's that issue too.
Yeah.
So
they've got an offensive coordinator that has to meet a point total this year to try to keep his job. So
that's kind of a little bit of a subplot there for the whole season. Be something interesting to watch.
Yeah. Obviously, I don't care much for the Hawkeyes. I'm an Iowa State fan, but
that's one thing we can agree on. So until they prove me wrong, I'm gonna kind of keep an eye on their unders this season and the point spreads until they prove me wrong. And they haven't done it at least since I've been keeping an eye on their offense. So I feel pretty safe about that one this
awesome.
week.
All right. Well, I'm going to throw a couple out here before I let you give a good one at the end, because mine are going to be terrible probably. But
hey, all my picks are good until the games happen, so it's all good.
No, I have pretty much the same spiel that you gave about philosophy. I try to stay away from things that I have an emotional investment in. Do it every once in a while, but try not to. And then also, that's what's fun about it. It makes other games interesting. That's why you do it, so you can watch some other games and have some fun with it. So always cool to do that.
Baseball, man. Baseball that's the only thing that got me through the summer. Those no run first innings, man. That was the hit.
That's fun. Yeah, and you can obviously you get some of those goofy boost things once in a while that are fun to kind of just look at least. But as far as the game goes, this is actually going to be a really good game, I think. That actually features the two teams that had the highest combined win total from last year, believe it or not. Tulane and South Alabama, two teams that actually kind of overachieved last year. Tulane had that awesome finish, and of course beat USC in the Cotton Bowl. Had some fun coming back in that game. They bring back their quarterback in a lot of their pieces too. South Alabama's kind of in the same boat. They bring back a lot of players as well. But that Tulane team, and with that confidence, the line's only at 6.5. And it's kind of crept just a little bit that direction. But boy, Green Wave at home starting the season, coming off a season like that last year. That's one that I kind of like here this week.
Yeah, I might have to take a look at that one.
Could be an interesting game for sure.
That sounds like a good one. I don't know about a crappy pick. That's pretty good. A touchdown, I could see that easily.
Yeah. The other one that I had... The other one I had on my sheet, I had a couple more, but I think the other one I would like to mention that I think just will be a fun game is going to be that standalone game coming up on Labor Day with LSU and Florida State. Those two teams obviously have a lot of expectations coming into the season. They both have guys that want to be Heisman contenders at quarterback, and they'll both put up a lot of points, I'm assuming. The number's a little bit high, but I still think the offenses are going to rule the day in this game. It's the way it turned out last year. It started slow, but then they picked it up at the end of the game. I think this one will be a lot of fireworks just because the offenses is where the strengths are. It's 56, but I'm going the over in that game. I think that'll be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, I looked at that one. I just couldn't. I was kind of like on the fence about which if I was, because I definitely wasn't picking a winner because I could could see either one, and I think the only spread I saw was maybe 3.5. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I ain't messing with that. So yeah, but I mean, I could definitely see them putting up some points though for sure, especially with the way with the weapons they have. I could definitely see that being a shootout, and that would be a nice way to spend that. Last weekend with Labor Day weekend there, nice little into the holiday. Yeah, the only other thing I was looking at was and this one I kind of felt like I kind of would feel guilty if I didn't take this one, is Texas Tech getting 14 against Wyoming.
Yeah,
I've seen I could at least half dozen, maybe not more, Texas Tech being in the being right there to win the conference.
Yeah, one of the surprise teams. Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't know if I buy that, but I've seen that pick's pretty popular. So I don't have much confidence in Wyoming either. At that same point, just Bull's kind of. I think he's plateaued, and then now he's kind of maybe regressing a little bit. He kind of had a couple of decent seasons. Now they're 500, if not one below every year. So I think he kind of reached his ceiling there, and he might be on the way out. So this could be a rough year in Laramie. But I mean 14, the way Tech scores, that doesn't seem like a big spread. So no. I could see, and same thing like when I was talking about the TCU, I could see a 42-10, 42-17 real easy. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that surprised me when I saw that too. I agree with you there on that one. I'll just a couple of them that I just wanted to mention. I'm not necessarily going to say one thing or the other here, but I think will be fun to watch. because USC was pretty disappointing in week 1.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And
yeah.
they're like 38-point favorites over Nevada. I know Nevada's not any good, but boy, that's a lot of points, and especially at a team that struggled, and they probably won't want to play their starters the whole game if they do get any sort of lead. That's a big number.
They end up. I mean, they went by what 28. I mean, still like so they wouldn't have covered that spread last week, and that was a dogfight for what almost 3/4.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, I mean that is a little surprising. I did definitely saw that, and I thought about it, but I was like, man, that's one of the ones. The time I think I'm smart, I look real dumb. So
yeah,
but it's definitely interesting, like you said, like
mm-hmm.
that's a big spread for especially one thing when you haven't seen a team play. But we saw them. I don't think they're going to fix that line in a week.
Yeah, no, and the defense is not what it needs to be.
Like, yeah, I thought they were playing the Ravens or something. The way they're quarterback. I mean, if they didn't have Williams, they probably would have got beat. Honestly.
Yeah, that's the deal.
I mean, he was doing it on his own. I mean, per usual, but still, like.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing I think will be fun to watch here early on in the season too is, with all this conference BS that's gone on, those 4 teams out there west that are stuck. How are they gonna play? There's got to be so much going on in those kids' heads right now. I mean, how are they going to come out of that and play? And especially, even once they get in the conference season, you're going to have all that hoopla that surrounds it. But that's going to be pretty interesting to see how that shakes out.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, because you got it. I mean, especially with like you mentioned earlier, transfer portal and things like that. Like they got to be looking. I mean, first opportunity they give them.
Yeah. No.
I mean, because who knows what's gonna. I mean. I hope not, but there's enough talk about some schools just either moving down or just disbanding their program, which that'd be awful. But,
yeah, that's terrible.
I mean, I guess they got to do it if they don't have the. I mean, I didn't even realize how bad some of those programs were. I mean, you would think you look at. I mean, just in general, obviously some places are more than others, but just the price of tickets, the price of parking, concessions, all that kind of stuff, and. A lot of these, teams are still well into the red. Like, I mean, it's like, what are they spending on? Like, what are they doing? I mean, I guess, I don't know. Like, it's overpaying coaches. Who knows? I mean, I can't see their books get into it, but it's kind of wild when you figure the price of just being a fan these days, and they're still struggling financially that much.
Yeah, no doubt. And of course, at the end of the day, you want the game to continue to grow and be interesting to people, and boy, you're making it pretty hard on doing that. I mean, you're doing about everything you can. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, it's something that Americans love so much that it's going to thrive probably no matter what, because that's just how we are.
That's kind of the bad part of it.
It is.
They know they can get away with.
Yeah, you can just do whatever they want. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's hard. I mean, a lot of it has to do with success on the field, but just the teams I follow closely, it's real easy just to sit home and watch it and just chill out. And then when you go to the game, you're like, man, now I know why I stay home, because it's almost like an inconvenience to be there. Besides the actual feel of the game, you don't go to the bathroom, you miss half the game or get something to drink, and it's like you can't get back. And so, like, I mean, there's that aspect of it too. So.
And length of games and stuff. Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Well, then you got if you want to fight traffic or just it takes. I mean, it's a day.
It is a day. Yeah.
Who your team is, because I know you got to drive a little bit to go to Ames, and like if I go up to Lincoln, it's a 2.5 hour drive, so you got to factor that in too. So there's a lot that goes into it, but I mean, hopefully it'll be worthwhile to make a trip north this year, but we shall see.
Yeah. Well, definitely fun, my man, to be talking sports, having some fun. Hopefully people enjoy this, and we'll continue to grow it here throughout the weeks, and hopefully we'll get some things to brag about along the way, and then folks can make fun of us along the way as well, and this will be good. Yeah,
definitely. I plan to just for we're out there, keep track of these picks too. Like, that's one thing I do, like accountability. That's kind of like where I sit too. Like, when I lose, I'm gonna own up to it. When I win, I'm gonna be shouting it from the rooftop. It's just the way I go. So just definitely keep track of my picks, and we'll see how if we can have some at least decent success. If I'm 500 or better, and that's good enough for me. a lot of things can happen, especially with college football, man. Like you.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we can dip our toes in the NFL too, but that's even more of a slippery slope, if you ask me.
I know, yeah. It can get pretty tough, that's for sure. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. That's SJ Munoz. I'm Chris Parks. Thanks for joining us for our first edition of Every Day We're Covering. Hopefully we'll talk about some covers with you next week.